The wine glass was still spinning when I stood up. Not from my hand. No, I had not touched it. She had slammed it down so hard the base twirled like it was trying to escape the table, just like I was trying to escape the moment. Say it, she whispered through clenched teeth, cheeks flushed in a way that had nothing to do with alcohol. The restaurant was too quiet now. We were still seated technically, but we were not really there. People at the nearby tables had started to glance sideways the way strangers do when they sense something private falling apart in public. You could feel their curiosity like static on skin. And then I looked at him. Ryan sitting across from me like a smug centerpiece between our unraveling. Elbows on the table, shirt too tight for the occasion. That kind of confidence you only earn by not caring who you hurt. He looked me dead in the eye, smirked, and took another bite of bread like this was his date. You embarrassed him. She hissed at me like I had knocked over a child at a birthday party. You need to apologize. I did not move. I could barely breathe. 2 hours earlier. This was supposed to be our night. A quiet table by the window. A chance to reconnect. I had booked this place a month in advance. She had not said thank you. She had not even complimented the setup. She just brought him. No explanation. No heads up. Just Ryan is joining. Hope you do not mind. He sat where the candlelight should have been. Now here she was not asking, not pleading, but demanding that I apologize to the guy who hijacked our night like he was the guest of honor. So I laughed, not because it was funny, IT was not. I laughed because I could not believe I was here. Because I could not believe she thought this was normal. Because somewhere deep down, I knew I had no one to blame but myself for letting it get this far. I stood up. I did not yell. I did not cry. I did not flip the table. I just said loud enough for both of them to hear. Pick right now. Him or me. Her mouth fell open like she had not expected me to have a spine. And Ryan, still chewing, looked mildly amused, like I had just added a little spice to an otherwise boring evening. I did not wait for her answer. I turned and walked out, heart racing, hands cold, questions screaming inside my head. I did not know where I was going. I just knew I was not staying. And what happened after that? Well, let US just say she made her choice. But she had no idea what I already knew. No idea what I had seen and no idea what I was about to do next. I did not make it far before I sat down on a bench across the street, staring at my reflection in the dark glass of the restaurant window. I could still see them in there, her hands fidgeting with her napkin, Ryan stretching like he just won a prize. I waited foolishly for her to chase after me. I gave it 5 minutes, then 10. I even reached for my phone once, thumb hovering over her name, but I did not press it. Instead, I scrolled to the photo I had taken earlier that day, the one I was not supposed to see. You see, this did not come out of nowhere. I had not told her, but I had been noticing things for a while now. Little slips, mismatched stories. The way she suddenly changed her lock screen from a photo of US to a quote about freedom. I was not proud of it, but I had done something I had never done before. I checked her shared photo album with Ryan. She forgot to turn off syncing, and there it was, a picture of the two of them at a rooftop bar 2 weeks ago. Her in the dress she told me she only wore for me. His hands suspiciously close to her waist. But it was not the photo that broke me. It was the caption, to the nights we never have to explain. She thought it was private. She thought I would never see it, but I did. And I kept it in my pocket like a wound I was not ready to show anyone. Back on the bench, I stared at that photo, zooming in until the pixels blurred. I was not angry. Not in the way movies show with yelling or punches or dramatic exits. I was just tired. Tired of begging for crumbs of attention. Tired of pretending I was okay with being a second option in my own relationship. Then my phone lit up. Lenora, where did you go? I did not respond. Lenora, you embarrassed me. I blinked at the screen. Lenora, Ryan said you are being immature. We were trying to include you. Include me in my own date night. That was the moment I realized this was not about Ryan. Not really. This was about her seeing me as someone who would never leave. No matter how many lines she blurred, she thought I was too soft, too patient, too quiet. And maybe she was right until now. So I texted her back. Me, you made your choice. I will come get my things tomorrow. No question mark. No begging. No more trying to fix something built on quicksand. Then I turned off my phone. That night I did not sleep. I lay awake on my friend's couch staring at the ceiling fan's spinning shadows on the wall, replaying every moment where I had let things slide. Every time I told myself I was being dramatic. Every time I believed her when she said you are just imagining it. But I was not imagining it. Not anymore. And in the morning when I showed up to her apartment, something happened I never saw coming. Her door was already open and Ryan was standing inside smiling. I froze in the hallway. The door to Lenora's apartment was cracked just enough to see inside, but it was wide enough to reveal that Ryan was there. Alone. At least I thought he was. He was leaning against her kitchen counter. One ankle casually crossed over the other, sipping from a mug that definitely did not belong to him. It had a cartoon octopus on it, Lenora's favorite, something she picked up on a trip we took together in Monterey. The same trip where she told me she wanted to build a future. He looked up and saw me standing there. And he grinned, not surprised, not startled, like he had been waiting. "Oh, hey," he said, tilting the mug. "Did not think you would show up this early." I stepped inside, slowly scanning the room. Lenora was not visible, but her purse was on the couch. Her shoes, the ones she always kicked off the moment she got home, were in their usual place near the door. That meant she was here somewhere. Probably in the shower, or worse, in the bedroom with him. I tried to keep my voice steady. "Where is she?" Ryan shrugged. Said she needed a minute. "She has been crying all morning. You really did a number on her last night." I wanted to laugh. I did a number on her. I stared at this guy, this uninvited parasite who had been circling our relationship like a vulture for years, and wondered how I had ever let this go on for so long. "I came to get my stuff," I said flatly. He did not move, just sipped. "You sure that is what you want?" That was the moment I realized something chilling. He was not just here for emotional support. He was not crashing on her couch after a breakup. He was comfortable standing there like he lived there, like I was the one trespassing. I noticed his overnight bag, slouched by the hallway closet, a phone charger, plugged into the wall, a hoodie on the armrest that definitely was not mine. How long had he been here? Before I could speak again, Lenora appeared in the hallway behind him. She was wearing one of his shirts, not mine, and she flinched when she saw me. Her eyes were red, lips chapped like she had been crying, but had not finished. "Daryl," she started, stepping toward me. I raised a hand. "Do not." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She looked like she was searching for the right words, the right angle to spin it from. But whatever script she had rehearsed in her head, it collapsed the moment our eyes met. "I came to get my things," I repeated, this time louder, more certain. Ryan looked at her, then at me. "You do not have to be dramatic about it. We can all talk like adults." That was it. That was the moment everything inside me flipped, because I realized this was not just betrayal. It was arrogance. They did not expect consequences. They expected me to not accept and maybe even apologize for making things uncomfortable. I stepped forward slowly, deliberately, and reached into my coat pocket. Both of them watched me like I was about to pull out a weapon. Instead, I pulled out an envelope. "Give this to her," I told Ryan, sliding it onto the counter without looking at him. "And do not worry, it is not a letter bomb. Just truth. Something neither of you are used to." Then I turned to Lenora. "You will not have to worry about me anymore. You chose him. Just make sure he is still around when it is his turn to get bored." I walked out before she could respond. And in that envelope, not a goodbye letter, not a list of accusations, just a printed photo, the one from her shared album, with one line written beneath it in red ink. To the nights we'd never have to explain until now. I thought that would be the end, but it was not, because 3 days later her sister called me, and what she told me made everything 10 times worse. I did not answer her call at first. Lenora's sister Margot had never really been in the middle of anything between us. She was one of those people who smiled tightly at family dinners and scrolled silently through her phone when things got tense. We had never had a real conversation outside of holidays. So when her name lit up on my screen 3 days after I walked out, I stared at it in confusion. It rang 3 times, then 4. I almost let it go to voicemail until something in me clicked. I answered. "Daryl," she said, out of breath, like she had been pacing or crying. "Are you okay?" I hesitated. Yeah. Why?" There was a pause on the other end, a rustling, then the faint sound of a door closing. She was somewhere private. "I was not going to get involved," she said quickly. "But I saw what Lenora posted this morning, and I had to call." I sat up straighter. "What did she post?" She took a picture down an hour later, but I saw it before it disappeared. It was a photo of her and Ryan in bed, not doing anything, but clearly naked under the covers. She captioned it, "No more secrets, just US." My stomach twisted. Margot kept talking. She said she was finally living her truth. "But Daryl, that is not what I am calling about. It is something else." I held my breath. "She has been rewriting the whole story, telling people you were emotionally unstable, that you were controlling, that you were the reason she and Ryan got close." Of course she was. She was not just moving on. She was erasing me and repainting the wreckage like I was the one who lit the match. I felt my face go hot. It was not enough to leave me. She needed to make sure I looked small in the story she would tell everyone else. But Margot was not done. She said something else, something weird. Last night, she got drunk and told me that Ryan had been sleeping over for months. She said you already knew and were pretending not to, that it made things easier. I stood up, heart pounding. What? She thinks you always knew, that you just did not care enough to confront her, that you were too spineless to stop her. I did not even realize I was shaking until I spilled water from the glass in my hand. Spineless. That is what she thought of me. That is what she always thought. I was the placeholder. The fallback, the one she could humiliate quietly, slowly, and still expect to forgive her every time. But the most haunting part, she was not entirely wrong. I had known deep down for weeks, months, maybe, and I did pretend, because I thought if I loved her enough, she would stop hurting me. That night I sat in my apartment with my laptop open, staring at her social media. She had deleted the photo just like Margot said, but the damage had already been done. Friends were commenting with vague congratulations. Some were tagging Ryan in jokes that made my stomach churn. There was no shame, no guilt, just celebration like I had never existed. But it was not over. Not for me, because buried in the mess of comments was one I recognized instantly from Ryan's ex-girlfriend. Her name was Celeste, and her comment was simple. Funny how history repeats. I clicked her profile. My hands were sweating. Her entire feed was private except for one post from 2 weeks ago. A screenshot of a text message. "Ryan trusts me, babe. She is just a backup plan. Always has been." I stared at the screen, breath caught in my throat. He was not just using me. He was using her too. And suddenly, I was not the only one carrying receipts. I must have read that message from Celeste 10 times before it truly settled in my chest like a stone. She is just a backup plan. Not she is the one. Not even she does not matter. No, it was colder than that. It meant Lenora was not special to him either. She was just temporary, a placeholder. The irony stung like ice against a burn. The very woman who treated me like I was disposable was now the one being played by the man she had replaced me with. And she did not even know it, but I did. And now I had a choice. Walk away, let her live in the illusion, or do something about it. I did not sleep that night. Instead, I messaged Celeste. I did not expect a reply. I just introduced myself and said I think we both got used. That is it. No accusations, no plan, just honesty. She responded within 5 minutes. Her first message, you have no idea. Within the hour, we were on a video call. Two complete strangers linked only by the same mistake. She looked tired. Not in the physical sense, but in the way someone looks after being lied to so many times that they stop believing anything at all. She told me that Ryan had a pattern, a long one. That Lenora was the third woman he had rescued from a failing relationship only to slowly isolate and manipulate. He has this way of making you feel like your current partner is the problem, she said. Then he swoops in, says all the right things, builds this emotional affair until you slip, and by the time you realize what he is, you have already pushed everyone else away. I sat back stunned. She was not bitter. She was precise, like someone who had rehearsed the words too many times in her head. But the worst part, she said, leaning forward, he never stays. Once the relationship becomes his, he gets bored. He needs the chase, not the person. I could not speak. Every piece of the puzzle was clicking into place. Lenora had not just chosen someone else. She had walked straight into a pattern thinking she was writing a love story, not realizing she was chapter 3 in a much darker book. Celeste had screenshots, texts, voice notes, even a screen recording of him FaceTiming her while still dating Lenora, saying, I am just being patient, she is not ready to leave him yet. The date on that video 2 weeks before Lenora gave me that you need to apologize ultimatum. I did not know what to feel anymore. Rage, vindication, maybe just exhaustion. But I knew one thing for certain. I was not going to keep quiet. I thanked Celeste. I did not ask her to get involved. I did not need her to. She had been burned enough already. But what she did next, I will never forget. She posted the video publicly and tagged both Ryan and Lenora. It did not even take an hour before I started getting texts. First from an unknown number. You better take that down. This is defamation. Then from Lenora. I need to talk. Please. It is not what it looks like. That one nearly made me laugh out loud. I ignored them both. But 2 days later, Lenora showed up at my apartment soaked in rain makeup, streaked hair tangled, like she had run through a storm. And her first words, not I am sorry. Not you were right. She looked at me and whispered, why did not you protect me from him? And I realized with a crushing weight she still did not get it. I stood in the doorway staring at her drenched, shaking mascara bleeding like ink over pages of a story she no longer controlled. I did not move. She was not supposed to be here. She was not supposed to come back. And definitely not with that question. Why did not you protect me from him? It knocked the wind out of me. Not because I did not expect some kind of excuse or spin, but because even now, even after all the lies and deception, she was trying to shift the blame. I was the one she had abandoned. I was the one she had replaced. I was the one sitting alone in our apartment eating leftovers she used to complain about while she posted photos of fresh starts. And now I was supposed to be her shield. I stepped aside without a word, mostly because the storm behind her was pouring buckets, and I did not want the hallway neighbors watching. She stepped inside, hesitantly, water dripping from her sleeves onto the hardwood like guilt she could not mop up. She looked around like everything was unfamiliar, like the place had shifted since she left. I guess it had. The framed photo of US from last fall gone. The blanket she used to curl up and folded and packed in a box. Even the tiny clay mug she made at that stupid pottery date shattered days ago in a moment of weakness I now regret. Daryl, she said, finally, her voice cracking. I did not know. I swear to God. I did not know he was a liar, a manipulator, a walking cliché wrapped in charm and overpriced cologne. She flinched. I did not know he was doing that to other women, she added softly. I thought what we had was real. I almost pitied her. Almost. I begged you, I said, my voice rising for the first time in months. I begged you to see what he was. I tried to talk to you about boundaries. You called me controlling. I tried to explain how it felt to be constantly sidelined. You said I was insecure. I stood there while you dismantled everything we had and handed it to him gift wrapped. And now you want sympathy. She blinked hard, her lower lip trembling. I made a mistake. No, Lenora, I snapped, stepping closer. You made a choice repeatedly. You let him crawl between us and watched him tear me down with a smile. You did not just fall into this. You chose him. You defended him. You told me to apologize to him. Do you remember that? She did not answer. She did not have to. I saw the video, I said, softer now. The one Celeste posted. The one where he called you a backup plan. Her shoulders sagged. I did not know, she repeated, voice barely audible. He said things made me feel seen. I thought you did not want me anymore. You stopped holding me. You stopped fighting. I stopped, I said slowly, because I could tell I had already lost. We stood there in silence. Her in the ruins of what she thought was a triumph. Me in the ruins of what I thought was love. Why are you here, Lenora? I finally asked. She looked up, her eyes brimming. Because I do not know who I am without you. That broke something in me I did not even know was still intact. She had not come back for me. She had come back because she did not want to be alone. Because Ryan had moved on. Because the applause died down. Because shame had finally found its way in. I am not your cure, I said quietly. You threw that away the night you let him sit across from me and call it inclusion. I walked to the door and held it open. You deserve better, she said, voice trembling again. I just did not see it until it was too late, I finished. She stepped out slowly, and for the first time, she did not argue. She did not plead. She just walked. And I thought that was the last chapter. But the next morning, I opened my email and found something that would unravel everything all over again. An anonymous message, one sentence. Check his phone records. You will want to see who he was really calling while she was with you. I stared at the email for a long time. The message had no subject line, no name, no clue as to who sent it. Just one chilling sentence. Check his phone records. You will want to see who he was really calling while she was with you. It sounded like fate, like the kind of thing you delete and forget because diving in means inviting pain. But curiosity mixed with paranoia is a toxic thing, and my brain had already started unraveling possibilities before I could stop it. The thing was, I could not access Ryan's phone records. He was not someone I had any real connection to, but I remembered something. Months ago, Lenora had used our shared Wi-Fi password to help Ryan set up some streaming app on his tablet. The paranoid part of me had at the time created a local log into our router to see what devices connected and when. I never removed access. Do not ask why I did that. I just did. Good instinct, security, survival. Either way, I logged into the router portal. To my surprise, Ryan's device labeled Ray's iPad Pro had been auto-connecting every time he was near our place, even after I left. Even last night, I scanned through the connected sessions and noticed something strange. Every time Lenora had supposedly been with me late nights or date nights, when she told me she was just heading to bed early, his device had connected to our Wi-Fi between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m., multiple times patterned, predictable, intimate. And then I found something that turned my blood cold. One of those nights, specifically the same night she called in sick to a weekend getaway we had planned, there were outbound log entries to a third-party call forwarding app. I could not see the numbers, but I recognized the service. It is used to mask real calls through different devices. It also stores voicemail unless cleared. That was my next move. I dug deep into old backup links folders I had ignored in our shared cloud and found an autosync audio file dated 2 months ago. I nearly dropped my phone when I hit play. Ryan's voice. She is in the shower. No, she does not know I am calling. She still thinks I am keeping her busy. I will get the video. Do not worry. Just make sure she never sees the wire transfer. I have got her wrapped up tight. She thinks this is love." Then silence. I had to sit down. This was not just infidelity. This was not just emotional manipulation. Ryan was working with someone else. I did not know who the other person was. I did not know what video he was talking about or what money was being hidden. But this was not about love. It was not even about lust. This was a setup. I replayed the message again, trying to isolate details in the background. A faint hum, maybe a television in another room, nothing concrete. That is when I remembered Celeste. I had not spoken to her since she posted the video. I messaged her again, quickly asking if she had ever heard Ryan talk about someone else. A third party, something involving money. She called me instantly. "I was waiting for you to find that," she said without even a hello. "You knew?" I asked, voice cracking. "I knew he was doing something sketchy. I did not know how deep it went," she said. "But the day I left him, he was on the phone with someone named Carson. I do not know who that is, but he sounded scared, like he owed him something." My mind reeled. Carson, that name, it painted something. And then I remembered Lenora's old coworker, a guy from her previous office who was quietly fired. Something about inappropriate use of company funds. She told me about him once, laughing like it was a joke. Said he was the kind of guy who talked fast and disappeared faster. Now it made sense. Ryan was helping Carson run something shady, and Lenora somehow had become a pawn, or worse, an accomplice, who did not realize she was in over her head. I did not want to save her. Not anymore. But I also could not look away. I gathered every file, screenshot, and recording I had. I copied them to a USB stick, then mailed it anonymously to her office. No note, no signature, just a label on the envelope, "Truth, before it swallows you too." I thought that would be the end. But I underestimated her, because the next time I saw Lenora, she was not crying. She was furious, and she brought company. When I opened my front door that day, I expected drama. I expected tears. What I did not expect was to see Lenora standing on my porch with a man in a charcoal suit behind her and a folder clutched in her hands like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She did not say anything at first, just stared at me tight-lipped, like she did not trust her own voice. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, silent, waiting. Finally, she spoke. "I know you sent it," she said, her voice low. "The envelope, the recordings, the logs." I did not confirm or deny it. The man beside her stepped forward. "My name is David Landry, private investigator. Miss Brock hired me last week." She believed there was more to the story than Ryan ever told her. She was right. He handed me the folder. We confirmed the man Ryan was working with is Carson Vellum, currently under investigation for corporate fraud, laundering, and identity manipulation. Your audio file helped connect the dots. Lenora's accounts were being used without her knowledge as transaction bridges. She was being set up. I glanced at Lenora. Her eyes were rimmed with red, but not from crying. It was something deeper: humility, fear, a flicker of strength, trying to crawl back from months of being played. "I did not come here to blame you," she said, voice cracking. "I came to thank you. I did not expect that. I never saw it. I did not want to see it. And when you left, I thought it meant I had one. That Ryan and I were finally free of judgment. But he was not with me. He was using me." She looked down at her hands, voice trembling. "I was angry when I opened that envelope. I wanted to destroy it, pretend it was fake. But you did not just walk away, Daryl. You left with dignity, and you left the truth behind." I did not know what to say. For the first time in this entire ordeal, I felt like I had nothing to prove. She stepped back. "I am leaving town. New job. Different state. I need to rebuild legally, emotionally, all of it. And I wanted to say I am sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I finally understand what I lost." I gave a slight nod. "I hope you find peace." That night after they left, I sat in my apartment, the same couch where I once curled up wondering if I was the problem. But this time I was not consumed by doubt. I felt light. I had walked through fire and somehow I was not scorched anymore. Weeks passed. No messages. No drama. Just quiet. And then slowly things started to feel new again. I started going for morning walks. I reconnected with people I had pushed away while trapped in that relationship. I even picked up my old camera again, something I had not touched in years. It felt like breathing for the first time. One Saturday morning, I was taking photos at a local park when a woman approached smiling curiously. "You were in my shot," I said, half laughing, pointing to the lens. She grinned. "Then you better make sure I look good." We talked. Her name was Elise. Graphic designer, dog person. No best friend named Ryan. Just real laughter, honest words, and a calmness I had not felt in ages. We exchanged numbers, and this time I did not feel the need to explain my past. I did not feel broken. I felt ready. Maybe heartbreak does not always end in revenge or fireworks. Sometimes the most powerful ending is simply choosing yourself and walking into something new, knowing exactly what you will never settle for.